The message arrived at exactly 2:46 a.m. No alarms rang, no satellites issued warnings, no governments made announcements, yet within seconds, every deep space monitoring station on Earth detected the same impossible signal. It wasn't noise, it wasn't static. It was language structured, intelligent, deliberate, and terrifyingly familiar. Because the signal wasn't coming from another galaxy, it wasn't coming from deep space at all. It was coming from Earth itself, but not from now. Dr. Elias Monroe had been awake for 36 hours. Dark circles clung beneath his eyes as he stared at the waveform pulsing across his screen inside the Black Ridge Observatory, a classified research facility buried deep beneath the Nevada desert. Elias had dedicated his entire life to listening to the universe, stars collapsing, galaxies tearing themselves apart. Not cosmic radiation echoing from the birth of time, but nothing he had ever observed prepared him for this. The signal carried Earth's electromagnetic fingerprint. The same frequency ranges, the same atmospheric interference patterns, the same planetary signature. This transmission was human. At first, Elias assumed a system malfunction. He ran diagnostics once, twice, 3 times. Every system reported normal, the signal remained. It repeated every 90 seconds, perfectly. Elias activated the experimental decryption AI, a system trained to identify unknown intelligent patterns. Within seconds, the AI froze. That alone sent a chill down his spine. The system had never frozen before. Then a single line appeared on the monitor. Source confirmed human origin. Elias swallowed hard. Human origin meant only one thing. This message was sent by humans. Just not humans from this time. As the AI resumed, fragments of language began forming, broken sentences, incomplete phrases. But the tone was unmistakable. This wasn't a greeting. This wasn't a discovery announcement. This was a warning. The first complete sentence appeared on screen. If you are hearing this, then we have already failed. The room felt colder. Elias felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. More text followed. This message was never meant to reach you. We tried to stop it. Time did not listen. Then, without warning, the signal shifted from text to sound. A human voice, distorted and exhausted, filled the room. This is Dr. Elias Monroe from the year 2149. Elias froze. That was his name. The voice continued. If you are hearing this, then you are me. And you need to listen carefully, because in exactly 40 years, humanity ends. Elias stared at his reflection in the darkened screen. The message wasn't from aliens. It wasn't from the future government. It was from himself. And it was never meant to be heard. Then the final sentence played. We discovered the truth about time, and it discovered us back. Elias shut down the audio feed. Sudden silence felt heavier than the voice itself. He sat motionless, staring at the waveform as if it might speak again. His mind raced, but his body refused to move. Same name, same voice, same rhythm. Every micro pause matched him perfectly. This wasn't resemblance, this was identity. Elias forced himself to breathe and initiated a biometric comparison: voice stress patterns, breathing cadence, vocal cord resonance. The AI processed silently for several seconds before displaying a result. Match probability 99.98%. Elias closed his eyes. That number meant certainty. That number meant destiny. He immediately contacted Black Ridge Command. Within minutes, the room filled with holographic projections, military officials, intelligence directors, senior scientists from around the world, all staring at him with suspicion and fear. Elias played the message from the beginning. No one interrupted. When it ended, the silence returned stronger than before. Finally, a general spoke. Shut the system down. Delete the signal. Another official objected. If this is a future transmission, it may contain information critical to human survival. A third voice cut in. Or it may be a weapon sent backward in time. Arguments erupted instantly. Containment, disclosure, weaponization. Elias listened, but his eyes remained fixed on a single line glowing on the screen. "We discovered the truth about time." "What truth?" he whispered. The signal shifted without warning. New data layers unfolded across the monitors. Complex mathematical structures emerged, advanced yet unmistakably human. Elias felt his stomach drop. He recognized the foundation instantly. They were based on his own abandoned theory, a theory he had stopped working on years ago because it terrified him. The theory claimed time was not linear and not circular. Time was pressure, compressed by observation, resistant to interference, violent when disturbed. The future version of himself had continued the research. He had gone further. Another audio segment unlocked automatically. This time the voice sounded older, tired. "I thought time was passive. We were wrong. Time is aware." Some officials laughed nervously, calling it nonsense, but Elias knew better. The equations were flawless. When we observed time deeply enough, it reacted, not immediately, not violently. At first, the room lights flickered. Screens around the observatory activated on their own. Live feeds from across the world appeared. Traffic cameras, airports, hospitals. Timestamps glitched, seconds skipped, then repeated. A woman in Tokyo froze mid-step, her coffee suspended in mid-air. A passenger plane over the Atlantic stalled for 3 seconds before surging forward violently. Heart monitors flatlined, then resumed as doctors screamed in confusion. The room erupted. This wasn't a simulation. This was happening. Elias understood with horror. The message wasn't just information, it was a trigger. The voice returned softer now. "If you are seeing the early effects, then it has already begun. Time does not want to be studied, it wants to be obeyed." The signal cut instantly. The room plunged into darkness, emergency lights flickered on. A final line of text burned itself onto the central screen. "The first correction has begun." Elias stood frozen. This wasn't the end of the message, it was the beginning of the countdown, and humanity had just made time angry. The world did not end that day. That was the cruelest part. It continued, broken but continuing. Some people noticed missing minutes, others relived the same moment twice. A man in Berlin aged 10 years overnight, then woke young again the next morning. Hospitals were filled with patients claiming their past had changed, not memories but reality itself. Inside Black Ridge, Elias was isolated. No phones, no internet, no contact, just him, the signal, and the growing evidence that the future was bleeding into the present. He studied the equations relentlessly. They described something horrifying. Time was not correcting events, it was correcting observers, humans. Every attempt to measure it triggered subtle shifts. People began disappearing from cameras, photos changed subtly, the faces of loved ones erased, replaced by strangers. The AI warned repeatedly, but Elias could not shut it down. He needed to understand, he had no choice. Another audio segment unlocked automatically. The voice of future Elias trembled with fear. "Time is punishing us. It corrects observers it cannot control. The first wave has begun." Elias realized the patterns. The corrections targeted those who interfered with observation. Scientists, politicians, engineers. They were vanishing slowly. The world outside Black Ridge was changing too. Earth's rotation stuttered. Sunrise came twice in the same hour. Seas rose then dropped unpredictably. Global navigation systems went haywire. The staff panicked, but they were already disappearing. Elias felt it personally. His assistant vanished mid-sentence, leaving only a faint echo of her voice. The walls of the observatory seemed to breathe. The instruments distorted. Time itself was alive, and it was angry. Elias tried to reason with the AI. Future Elias's voice cut through the chaos. "Listen carefully or be erased." He ran to the main console. His own face stared back from the hologram. "You are the observer. You are the key. You cannot fail." Elias understood that the corrections would continue until he either obeyed time's hidden rules or disappeared like everyone else. The audio continued. "You must send the message back. You must warn the next generation before the full correction occurs." Elias' hands shook. He realized the burden he carried was greater than humanity could imagine. The world outside continued shifting. People blinked out of existence, cities distorted into impossible angles, buildings duplicated then vanished. The sky fractured into overlapping layers of reality. Everyone except Elias seemed unaware. He had become the anchor point, the observer of time, the target and the witness, all at once. He whispered to himself, "This is it. This is the point of no return." Elias stood alone in the center of the observatory. The world outside was unrecognizable. Time fractured into layers overlapping reality and memory. He realized the only way to survive was to obey the hidden rules of time. The AI displayed a final equation glowing red. A path to send the warning back 40 years into the past to prevent the collapse. Elias hesitated. He knew any mistake could erase him completely. His reflection on the console flickered. He saw himself older and younger at the same time. The voice of future Elias echoed one last time. "You are the observer. You are the key. Send the message or humanity will be corrected into oblivion." Elias activated the transmission sequence, the message encoded with his voice and exact instructions to the next generation of scientists. Time rippled as the signal left the observatory, traveling backward through decades. The first wave of corrections began to reverse. People reappeared in photos, some buildings returned to normal positions, some missing individuals blinked back into existence. But the corrections were not finished. Time was still alive, still aware. It demanded obedience. Elias monitored the feedback as the observatory shook violently. The walls bent and twisted around him. He whispered to himself, "I am the anchor. I am the observer." The transmission completed. The room fell silent. The monitors went dark. Elias sank to the floor, exhausted, terrified, alive. He had survived the first wave. The world outside began to stabilize slowly. Streets returned to normal. Sky cleared slightly. Time had not forgiven humanity, but it had paused for now. Elias understood that this was only the beginning. He had sent the message. His past self would receive it in 40 years. He had planted the seed of survival, but the knowledge weighed heavily on him. He was alone now, the only witness to the truth of time. The observatory was quiet except for a faint humming in the background. The final words of future Elias repeated in his mind. "Time is aware, time is alive, and it remembers."